I bid you all good morning, good evening, and good night, wherever you may be watching this transmission. Guys, I spent a lot of time last night crunching some numbers for you guys. I hope you guys could share this video and get it out there. We've been following the housing market here in the entire Commonwealth and the United States now for almost 10 years now. And why? Because things are just not normal. Western United States, completely bought out. Canada, major cities, completely bought out. Then you got the UK in an absolute disaster. Then you got Australia in an absolute disaster. And the New Zealand is an absolute disaster. Why? Because of free market, open markets, free trade, bringing in people. And these countries have been, for the longest time, in the last 8-9 years, have been competing for wealthy investors. What do wealthy investors do? They don't want to pay tax, but they want to come in and actually buy up your property and leave it empty. And that's become a huge issue. But not only leave it empty, but they buy up so much of it that the average person can't even get into anything, the average wage earner. So tonight, I spent quite a few hours going over many graphs, going over, now I have my notes here to the side, which I'm going to read for you guys because I can memorize all this. So we're going to be looking at wages. Okay, we're going to be looking at the average wages. So we're looking at $39,000 per year, $39,000 to $64,000 per year in that tax bracket. Okay, so 39 to 64,000, 39 to 64. So we're looking at wages to debt load. So we're going to go on the average debt load. We're going to go on owing mortgage balances and average rent too. So we're looking at the people that have been waiting on the sidelines or the people paying rent. So what is it going to take for housing for people, average wage earners, to get into the market, and what are homeowners looking at when it comes to low prices going down on their homes, right? And then we're going to go with average unsecured debt, the people hold unsecured, that's signed with the collateral of their signature, right? And student loans, average. And you could always kind of remove a bit of the student loan if you have none. If you have no debt, then you could adjust yourself accordingly as you go to see percentage-wise on how much homes need to come down. So we're not looking at homes need to come down in general because everything's overpriced. We're looking at homes and what they need to come down for the average wage earner. Average wage earner owns average wage home. Average wage home fixes it up a bit, spends 5-6 years, has 1 or 2 kids. It's a 2-3 bedroom, moves up to something bigger, and then makes a little money off that after fixing it. Maybe it went up 13% in 5 years, 6 years, right? And a healthy, let's say 8%. 9%, got his money back on the renos, then buy something a little bit bigger, upgrades, gets a better rate with the bank, blah, blah, blah. We're talking about before the whole foreign investing invasion that came in and completely bought us out and completely left us basically at a point where everyone's house broke, right? And people getting first-time homebuyer loans from the government. So anyways, so this is it. So we're looking at condo, apartment, bungalows only. And in Canada, unfortunately, it's really hard. Everything in Canada is a condo. That's the problem. You go there and it's like, this place is like 50 years old and the elevator is like a crank elevator. What the heck is this? Not a condo. But everyone's like, no, I live in a condo. And you go see the pool, it looks like it has no water in it. You know what I'm saying? So in Canada, every apartment is a condo. That's the problem. Okay. All right, so let's go over this, guys. So let's break this down and kind of look at numbers here. So I'm going to be reading off my notes I took here the other day. So here it is, guys. Canada. So we'll start with Canada. Canada needs to drop in its major cities. Listen to this, okay? This is the average across the major cities for the average wage earner to get in. 61.88% drop. Wow. That's a huge correction. When I was looking at Canada and the dangers of wages not moving for so many years and wages not catching up to inflation, nowhere near catching up to inflation. We're talking like 20 years, 30 years, wages not moving anywhere near close to inflation. You know what I'm saying? So I can even look up some of the articles for you guys that I'm talking about so you guys don't think I'm making this stuff up, right? So, yeah, let's look it up here. Wages in Canada haven't moved. So you guys can see how bad it is. here you go. Wage growth. Average wage earners. We're not talking about minimum wage. Average wage earners. No, this is over the past 30 years. I'm trying to see if I could find that. They keep taking down these articles, so it's really hard for me to find this stuff. 30 years. Oh, okay, here we go. Hourly wages in Canada have barely moved in 40 years. And they're not talking about minimum wage. They're talking about people like making 20, 30 bucks an hour. Look, 40 bucks an hour, management, all this stuff. This is average wages. Hourly wages in Canada have barely budged in 40 years because they're adjusting it to inflation, right? So in Canada, for the average wage earner to get into an average wage home or an average wage starter home, condo, or bungalow, they need 61,000. It needs to go down 61.88% drop. Now, Vancouver makes up a majority of that. So we're talking about, I calculated Vancouver, Richmond, Burnaby, Surrey, North Van, West Van, and and White Rock, that whole area there in the Lower Mainland, that area, that specific area, and that area needs a 64% drop alone, just that area. So the average I got across Canada, and I included Edmonton and all those other cities, a total is 61.88% drop. Toronto is the second biggest behind Vancouver with a 41% correction needed. So if you're looking at a house and they want $1 million, it actually needs to go down to 590,000. That's what it needs to happen, guys, right? So that's what needs to happen. So let's move over to New Zealand. Now, New Zealand's been really bad, okay, with foreign investing. There's one guy that owns like 61 homes in New Zealand from China, and he's never been to New Zealand either. I got a story, an email from somebody that says, yeah, I know this guy. Like, he lives in China. I know this guy, and he owns 61 homes in New Zealand and brags about it all the time, and they're all empty. So this obviously takes away from the locals living there, and then when that 61 people aren't paying hookups like electricity, water, hydro, all that stuff, it takes away from the infrastructure, right? And then you have a crumbling infrastructure, right? Because the water company isn't making enough, the electricity company is losing on hookups, right? So New Zealand, are you ready for this, guys? Needs to drop 48.91% across the board in New Zealand. All the areas, after a lot of people left, mass exited Welland and Auckland and all these other cities, they brought up prices in Christchurch and other areas, believe it or not, inflating those prices. So New Zealand as a whole is a 48.91% drop. And again, we're taking average wage earners, owing mortgage balances, average rents, and kind of breaking that down. I've taken my time for this. Let's move over to Ireland. You ready for this? Ireland started seeing this bidding wars. This strange phenomena hit Ireland, and they never seen it before. They've never seen it in Ireland. And all these bidding wars, I'm just trying to see if I could find the article. So the strange phenomena went into Ireland 3 years ago now, 2017. Yeah, 2017. And there was bidding wars. People in Ireland for the longest time, in Dublin or wherever, in Belfast, you would go out, see a house, okay? Let me send an inspector. Okay, I'm going to give you 10,000 less than asking because I'll give you 150,000 euros because it needs this and it needs that. And the guy will look at it and say, okay, you're right. I'll take what you're asking and we'll do a deal. That's how it worked. But then up to 3 years ago in Ireland, they started seeing a rare phenomena of foreign people bidding on properties, like heavily. 100,000 euros over asking, 200,000 euros over asking, and the Irish was completely. Let's go see housing protest. I'll show you guys what happened there. Ireland. Huge housing protests in Ireland. Like, there's people protesting all over the streets. See, they protest outside luxury. This is like a few days ago, actually. Protesting outside luxury apartment blocks. Because the Irish can't get into their own place. They can't buy in their own country. So the strange phenomenon in Ireland happened, and people can't buy in their own properties. Their wages have never gone up. And I checked, wages in Ireland haven't kept up with inflation for over 31 and a half years from what I got from my notes. 31 and a half years, wages have been haven't been moving, right? Haven't been adjusted to the rate of inflation. All right, now let's go over to Scotland. So Scotland's very interesting too. They started seeing a rare phenomena of bidding wars in Glasgow and Edinburgh, and then they're wondering what the heck is going on, right? So let's go to if the bidding wars article's still up, or they took it down because it's racist or whatever. Yeah, bidding wars in Ulster country, bidding wars and all over, man. So, anyways, so in Edinburgh, let's see if we get Edinburgh here. Here we go. Government launches bid to trace. No, where is it? Yeah, we're getting all COVID news here now. Yeah, it's the whole bidding war stuff went to the sidelines now. But yeah, so Scotland doesn't need too much of an adjustment, believe it or not. 19.76% drop in pricing in Scotland. Not Dublin, Scotland. Scotland's okay, 19.76. Now, let's go to Australia. And what I did was, I did Australia. It was really tough, Australia, because in Western Australia, a lot of people earn a lot less than people in New South Wales. So it was kind of hard to get a whole of Australia. So what I got was, for New South Wales, there needs to be a 47.03% drop in most areas, depending like on the average wage earners. And then I noticed that in Tasmania, in Hobart, they need to see an 11.9% drop in Tasmania. So I took that into factor too. I kind of separated New South Wales from Tasmania, but Tasmania, they say it's overpriced on wages at 11.9%. So it won't catch up to New South Wales ever. I don't think so, right? Okay, so this is it. We're going to break that down, and we're going to go through Western United States, okay? Okay, so we'll start with Canada. Canada, 61.88% drop in pricing it needs to see, and the bulk of it is from Vancouver at 64% and Toronto at 41% drop for the average wage earner to get into an average wage property. New Zealand, 48.91% drop for the average wage earner to get into an average wage home. England, 39.81% drop. That's for the average wage earner to get an average wage home. Ireland, 51.22% drop in housing, or in average wage earners for average wage homes. Scotland, 19.76% drop for average wage earner and average wage home. And Australia and New South Wales, 47.03% drop for the average wage earner to get into an average wage home. So that's for the average wage, Australian proper, Irish proper, British proper, UK proper, Canadian proper, to get into their own markets, okay? And we're talking about foreign money and all that crap, right? Now, Washington State, we're going to go over the United States, the whole Western United States, and we added New York in here, believe it or not, because New York has got a lot of foreign investing, and New York has basically seen, New York has probably most of the empty homes, believe it or not, in most of America. For every homeless person in New York, there's like 5 or 6 empty units. California, as for every one homeless person, there's 4 empty units, like empty. No one's living in them. They're investor properties. So let's go over our Paris Paris discussion here. The Paris. See if we could find it if it didn't get taken down. So Paris properties are selling cheap, and people rioting in Paris are foreign buyers tax better dwelling. All right, let's go over this, guys, real quick. Okay. So here it is. This is an older article, but I love reading it because it goes down with it. Vacant homes are a global epidemic in Paris, fighting it with a 60% tax. Runaway real estate speculation has been filing global capitals with vacant homes, creating artificial shortages in the world's most sought-after cities. The shortage has made local homeowners wealthy overnight, but it comes at the cost of turning lively cities into empty shells. The city of Paris has decided it's had enough and implementing a tax in 2015. They did not quite get what they wanted, so they're now tripling it to 60%. So this is Paris empty home problems. They have 107,000 empty homes with no hookups, and that's hurting the infrastructure, right? And people, those 107 could be 107,000 potential families paying taxes and paying the municipal taxes in those areas. That's why Dublin in Ireland, that's why in places in Australia, they're raising the local municipal taxes because there's not enough people paying it anymore because no one's living in those homes, right? So here it is. So New York City right now sits at vacant homes at 308,000. Mind you, this article is about 2 years old, give or take a few more or less. London's at 58,000. So the empty home phenomena adds to the inflation in prices, right? And this is a huge issue because then rents go up, right? Los Angeles has 213,000, but nothing like New York, 308,000. Let's say three people per average to live per unit. That's 1 million people that are displaced. That's a lot. Toronto's here with almost 100,000. Vancouver at 66,000. Vancouver's less only because there's less land to build on. So there's like, I mean, if they go up to 100,000 empty, they've pretty much taken over the whole city then. The city gets pretty much taken over because you're running out of space, right? Okay, so let's go over Washington State. Listen to this. After Vancouver put on the foreign buyers tax, all the people from Vancouver, once the foreign buyers tax went into place in Vancouver, they all went to Washington State. They went to Olympia, they went to Seattle, they went to all those places to buy luxury condos. Washington State, okay, average wage earner, okay, this is in American dollars now. Average wage earner in America is 35,000, okay, to 45,000 is average wage earner, okay? Well, you get taxed less in the U.S., and there's some states have no income tax, so you actually take more home, right? Washington State needs to go down 59.38%. 59.38%. Housing pretty much doubled overnight there. Literally. With a lot of foreign investing. And Washington State is pushing, I think, the 38 or 40,000 empty home mark. 38, 40,000 empty vacant properties in prominent areas that people could go to work from, right? Okay, Oregon State needs to go down 21.84%. Oregon State announced a state of emergency a few months ago that the average wage earner to buy a house is over has passed 4 times the annual income. So it's going into 7, 8, 9 times the annual income. So Oregon State needs to see a 21.84% drop. California, okay, as a whole needs to see a 41.56% drop. Okay, then Los Angeles County needs to see a 56% drop. After when you break it apart, Los Angeles County 56% drop. San Francisco needs to see a 66% drop. There's people paying $3,000 a month for rent there. $3,000 a month. So if house of pricing starts to correct, then rents would go down because people are gonna it's gonna be cheaper for me to own than to rent for $3,000 a month. I can pay a $2,100 a month mortgage, right? So that's what you have to see, right? And then New York needs to see a 31.33% drop. New York. Then you got like Rochester needs an 11% drop. Syracuse needs a 17% drop. Buffalo needs a 21% drop. And then Albany needs a 4% drop. And then you have Manhattan needs a 31% drop. Then you have it says the boroughs here, all boroughs, okay, like the Bronx and all that areas, need to see a 22.3% drop. So that's it, guys. I really took the time to throw these numbers together for you guys. I wanted to discuss the housing drop. Now, with COVID on the horizon and with the average wage earners not making their average wages anymore, and a lot of people have little to no money put aside to help buffer this 2 to 6 month period they may not be working because COVID is running rampant. It's really scary, guys. You know, this is where things need to get to, okay? This is where property prices need to get to in all these different areas. For, again, we're looking at wages to debt load. If you own a mortgage or owing mortgage balances, and or if you're renting, right? Average unsecured debt. So you're going to have to kind of create your own little model on where pricing needs to go down, but the further down, the better. Because people are saying, oh, for me, Mike, because I live with my parents and I saved 50% already for a down payment, housing only needs to go down 10% for me. And I could be okay if it goes down 10%. But you don't want to catch a falling knife and then have to lose money and then have to pay for a house that's worth less than what you bought it for. That's what you don't want, right? You don't want to be underwater. So you want it as low as possible. When is the lowest point? Well, you're going to have to keep track. We're following the stock markets right now on the channel, following where things are headed, because real estate lags 1 to 4 months behind from the stock markets, right? So I hope this information was good for you guys. I hope this could help you guys out. I hope I answered a lot of your emails here. I want to thank everyone for supporting this channel very much. I want to thank you very much for that. Don't forget to go on Teespring and buy something. And I'm also on Patreon. Go to Patreon and buy me a coffee. Links on top of the channel. $1 a month. And don't forget to go on Teespring. I got a new Supreme Cannon mug in. I'm going to try and see if I can make another one. I'm getting the stickers made that people are asking for. These really cool stickers. These die-cut stickers. Not ones of my ugly face, but I'll get other ones made for you guys. Really cool ones. And then, and yeah, I just wanted to throw that out there, guys. I really appreciate you guys coming out and all the questions you guys asked and all the words of support. It really means a lot to me, guys. It really does that you guys take the time to watch these videos. So now, don't forget to set your reminder, guys, for trends in the housing market tomorrow. Trends in the housing market's going to be really big. Don't forget to set. And then Mike in the Night this Saturday, we're going to talk over the psychology or the psychological impact that COVID's making. And we'll have people call into the show. And you can call in yourself if you like onto the show live and tell us what you think. So don't forget to set your reminders. Let me know what you guys think. Thanks so much. And if I missed anything in my numbers, I'm sorry. I did add transportation roughly, and I added transportation as a percentage, a small percentage of the income, because I'm not sure if whether people travel or auto, because in the States, a lot of people take cars still. In Canada, people take transit because they can't afford a car because their house broke. So it depends on the situation, right? So yeah, do that. Let me know. Comment below. Thanks for watching, guys.